Hey, what's up? You're here today with Nick the Informative Fisherman, and welcome to a better understanding of fishing hooks. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the anatomy of the hook, the different types of hooks that are on the market today, and we're going to go over the different sizes of hooks to give you a much better understanding of what's out there on the market and what you should be fishing with. Okay, starting off with the anatomy of the hook. First you have the eye. Now this is where you tie your line onto the hook. From there you have the shank, which is the backbone to your hook. Moving down, you have the bend in your hook, and this is where your hook strength comes from. Up from there, you have your barb, which is when a fish bites on and his lip slips over that, it's to prevent him from slipping back off the hook. From up there, you'll see the point, and that's actually where the hook penetrates the fish. And from the point back to the shank is your gap. Now this is a very vital part in hooks. Understanding the type of fish you're going to be fishing for, you'll need to know what size of gap you will need in your hook. For largemouth bass per se, you generally use a very large gap. Okay, so now when it comes to hook sizes, the graph is 16/0 to size 32, 16/0 being the largest and 32 being the smallest. Now where it gets confusing to people is when you have your size 8 here and you can see that it's small, 6 being a little larger, 4 being a little larger, 2 being a little larger than that, and you get down to 1. People get confused between size 1 and 1/0. There is a 1 and there is a 1/0. 1/0 being just slightly bigger than the size 1, and then from there you got 1/0 which is bigger, 2/0 which is bigger than that, 3/0 which is bigger than that, and it goes up to 16. When you get to 1, the higher the number they start getting smaller. As you can see, 1's a little bit larger than 2 and 4 and so on, and you see that they taper down to size 32, which are fly hooks. Okay, now let's discuss a few different types of hooks. This is O'Shaughnessy hook here. O'Shaughnessy hooks are generally thicker. They're a saltwater hook most of the time, although people do use them in freshwater too. They're also known as your standard J hook. Most of these guys are very thick and they don't bend out of shape. These are more likely to be used for bait fishing or bottom fishing of things of that sort. Okay, here we have an Arbor Teen hook. Now these guys were primarily designed for freshwater fishermen, although saltwater fishermen do use them. The body of the hook is not nearly as strong as your other ones, although these are modified in multiple different ways. As you can see, there's an offset in the shank up there, and this is for holding soft plastic lures. This is a much more versatile hook. Primarily these guys were designed to be used on lighter tackle versus your heavy tackle. Yes, you can over torque them and bend the hook out of shape, although they are way more versatile, and this is one of your most commonly used hooks on the market. Here we have an O'Shaughnessy circle hook. So it doesn't bend. And what a circle hook is designed for is to hook the fish in the corner of the mouth. You don't set the hook with these guys. They're designed for when you up your retrieval speed, they'll gradually slide over into the corner of the fish's mouth. By hooking them there, you're less likely to get a wound on the fish. So if you're practicing catch and release with bait, circle hooks are definitely the way to go. These guys are used commonly in big game tournaments where they have to catch and release the fish. Now this is an Arbor Teen cow hook. Now what cow hooks are designed to do is hook the fish a little bit further back in the mouth. And why they have this other looking odd bend to them, it's designed to prevent that hook from bending out. So a cow hook is an Arbor Teen hook that's designed to have more strength than your standard Arbor Teen hooks. And you can see by the length and the body of the hook too that it would hook the fish further in the mouth. So if you're planning on catching and releasing, don't use cow hooks. If you plan on catching and keeping them, cow hooks could be the choice for you. Okay, here we have an Arbor Teen hook that happens to be a live bait hook, and what deciphers a live bait hook from the rest is the shank of the hook. And you can actually see that the shank of the hook is a little bit shorter. This happens to be an Arbor Teen because it's a little lighter in material versus your O'Shaughnessy hooks, which is a much thicker material. Although you can get live bait hooks in both, I happen to use this one for crappie fishing. It's a shorter shank and it's a live bait hook, and live bait hooks also come in circle hook. It's just a circle hook with a much shorter shank on it. Now let's just go over a group of them here and point them out. So you see the O'Shaughnessy treble hook here. Much thicker body treble hook, doesn't really have any flex to it, real strong hook, very unlikely to bend out. Then you have Arbor Teen treble hook, much softer hooks, very light and flexible, much more likely to bend out, but can be used on much lighter tackle. Then you have this guy here. You can test him. You can push. Does he flex? No, it doesn't really have any flex. Could be an O'Shaughnessy hook. This guy here, the weedless style, another O'Shaughnessy hook. Has no flex to it. You can see this guy has some flex, he's thin. Then you have your cow hook here. Not as much flex, but he is an Arbor Teen hook. So as you can see, you can go through your hooks and you start to develop a much better idea of what you are fishing with, and knowing that should you fish an O'Shaughnessy hook on light tackle? Chances are no, you shouldn't. Should you fish a Arbor Teen hook on lighter tackle? Yeah, that would be your much better choice. So by putting all these things together, you'll see over time you'll become a much better overall fisherman by deciding the right hook choice for the right type of fish. I'm your host, Nick the Informative Fisherman, and we'll see you next time. Best of fishing.